Hi, my name is Zac Hartley, and I run a 3D printing farm in Canada with over 70 of the Prusa 3D printers.
When did you discover 3D printing?
Yeah, so this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was selling products on Amazon and I was trying to find new products to develop and create. And one of the products that I came up with, I thought that I could 3D print it. And so I actually had somebody else with a 3D printer manufacture that product for me, and I tried to sell it. And I was able to sell the first 10, 15 units without any problem. So I kept going. I kept buying them from the same person and selling them online, mostly through Amazon. And eventually it got to the point where the production couldn't keep up with the sales, so I bought a printer for myself. That was my first ever Prusa 3D printer, and since then I have continued to reinvest the money back into the operations, and now it has grown to over 70 printers where we're at today.
And what was your first experience with 3D printing? Did you find it easy to get into?
Yeah, so my first experience with 3D printing, I bought a very cheap printer off of Amazon, and it was a learning experience. I had to manually level the bed, I had to really mess with the filament, and I had to make the prints very simple to get them to work really easily. And so my first testing with 3D printing wasn't as smooth as it probably could have been. It was a lot of a learning experience and a lot of kind of problem solving. But it taught me a lot. It taught me how the printers work. It taught me how to fix them. It taught me what to do when something goes wrong. And from there, I've been able to grow, upgrade the printers, and now upgrade my operations.
So, is it still just a professional thing, or have you used the printer to make something fun?
Yeah, I use the printer to mess around a lot. We have a lot of fun with it. We've 3D printed the guitar. We have made some Nerf blasters. I 3D print a lot of organizers for my house and my equipment. And we make a lot of fun things to decorate the house or store different things and try and use the 3D printer as much as we can instead of buying something off the shelf.
Do you share the passion with your family, or is it a private hobby?
There's definitely a little bit of passion for 3D printing in my family. Both me and my brother are pretty involved in it. We both have some Prusa 3D printers. My parents, not so much. It's a little out of their wheelhouse, but they support us as much as they can, and they love seeing what comes off the printers. So it's definitely a family affair, but it's probably me and my brother that are most interested in it.
And can you share a part of your background with us? Are you a mechanical engineer, or do you have a technical or engineering background?
So my background has nothing to do with 3D printing. It has nothing to do with engineering or anything technical. I went to school and I graduated with a business degree, and when I graduated, we actually started a business where we would convert wine and whiskey barrels into furniture and decor and then sell them across North America. And so it helped me learn how to start a manufacturing business and how to run a manufacturing operation. And that is really where things started from me, and that's sort of my background. And then when I saw 3D printing and I saw the capabilities of this technology and what it can do, I thought this is the next evolution of manufacturing. So I try to apply it as much as I can, and now it's turned into a full-time business.
And how did your business start? Was it a coincidence, or was it a well thought out business plan?
So I would say it was more of a coincidence than a set business plan of what I was going to do. At the time, it was just experimenting with different products, and one of them happened to be 3D printed. And it was great because what it allowed me to do was it allowed me to test different concepts, test different ideas, prototype them, and get them into the market extremely fast with a very low cost. And so it allowed me to start a product and a development business from my house with very little resources. And now it has grown into a couple of full-time employees and a pretty big operation.
Where and how did you learn about performance, maintenance, and how to design all this stuff?
Yeah, so the maintenance and the designing in 3D printing was definitely a big challenge for me. The maintenance has come mostly from online research and trial and error and figuring out what goes down on my print farm more than anything else, and then trying to put a plan in place to mitigate that and keep as much uptime as possible. And so the maintenance side of things has been a lot of trial and error over time and figuring out what works and doesn't work for the products that I'm printing. And the design side of things has been a little bit of a different story. I do not have an engineering background or a design background, and I don't have a lot of experience with some of the more advanced software. So for a lot of the products that I've developed myself or that I've kind of designed myself, I've used very simple softwares like Tinkercad to actually put the products together, come up with the prototype, and test it in the marketplace. And if I need to refine that design or improve it, or I need a more advanced design, I will usually ask somebody with that expertise to come in and help me improve that design. But for about 90% of it, I can do it myself with some very, very basic tools online.
And what were your expectations when you started your business? And did you calculate everything beforehand?
I would say my kind of thought process behind the numbers in the business is really just about sustainable growth and trying to reinvest the profit that the printers generate back into the operations to expand it further. And so when it comes to the numbers, I had a little bit of experience from my previous manufacturing business with regards to how much does a product cost to manufacture, to distribute, to sell, and to market. So with regards to that aspect, it was kind of taking everything that I had learned before and applying it to the 3D printing world. But there were some very unique features, such as filament consumption, which is something that I had to learn, and I had to learn the hard way because I kept running out of it. And so with regards to filament, I built a spreadsheet that can kind of track how much filament I'm using on a monthly basis. It can forecast it out for the next few months. It can adjust for different seasons, and it can help me plan when and how much filament I need to order so that I can make sure the farm doesn't run out, because that has been a big challenge for me over the last few months.
Did you calculate the price and profit based on print hours?
Yeah, so when it comes to the profit that I'm generating from the products that I'm printing, my main focus is with regards to profit per print hour. I really want to make at least a minimum of $2 per print hour per machine while it's running. On top of that, with all of my products, I try to set a minimum gross profit of 30% when I sell it online. So I want to make at least 30%, and I want to make at least $2 per hour on every product that comes off of those printers. I came to that conclusion because my main resource and my main limiting factor is print hours. And so I want to use that as the core variable with regards to how much and how efficient my printers are operating. And so the actual number of print hours is what I can put in, and the products coming out is what I get out of it. And I'm trying to generate 30% gross profit margin and a minimum of $2 per print hour. If I can't meet those metrics, or I don't see a path to meet those metrics in the lifeline of that product, then I will cut that product, we'll move on to the next one, and we'll devote those resources into finding a product that does meet those metrics.
And what was your approach? How did you come to that?
I definitely didn't start with this model when I was really just trying to figure everything out. It was more of a strict focus on gross profit per product. But what I realized was that the actual gross profit that I was generating per print hour was highly variable. Sometimes it was 50 cents in profit per print hour. Sometimes it was $5. And so I realized that if I sold out, or if I sold a ton of those lower margin products, I'd be making a lot less money and I'd be running the printers a lot more. And that kind of changed my perspective on it. And I realized that I need to make sure that I'm generating a sustainable amount of profit for every hour that I'm running those printers. And so that is one of the main reasons that I added that as a crucial variable when determining if a product is successful, if it's not successful, or setting the price specifically for that product.
So what kind of advice would you give me? Is it a good idea in general? How should I start? And is there a room on the market for another guy with another print farm?
Oh, there's an endless space of what these printers can do, and room in the market for people that want to run a print farm. And what's so amazing about this technology is that as the technology gets better, the applications that you can apply that technology to expand. And so the marketplace that we are operating in right now is just continuously getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because the technology and the printers and what Prusa is working on is just expanding what we can do and the markets that we can serve and the products that we can create. So if you are somebody that is just starting out, or you're thinking about starting a print farm, the best place to start is with one printer. Develop a product, refine that product, get your customer feedback, make sure that you have a fit in the marketplace with that product, and then start printing that product, scale up, make sure you can sell it, and then use the profit from those first sales to buy another printer and scale your operation. That is the best way that somebody can get started in this, because the key here in the 3D printing space is finding traction. and finding a product that's actually going to move, or a problem that you can actually solve with your 3D printer, and then reinforcing it and improving it and expanding it and selling it to other people. And so start with one printer, specifically a Prusa, and then make sure that you have that product market fit before you buy the next one. And as soon as you do, and as soon as you can make a couple dollars per print hour, it's going to be very easy to expand that print farm.
Would you say that making money through 3D printing is easy?
Is making money with 3D printing easy? No, making money with 3D printing is not easy, but it is very, very achievable, and all you have to do is solve the right problem. Look at the technology, look at what 3D printing can do, and find a problem that doesn't have a solution yet, or doesn't have a great solution that you can improve on with 3D printing. And so when it comes to making money with 3D printing, the best thing that you can do is use that technology to solve a problem for somebody else, give them a solution, give them an organizer, give them something that makes their life easier. And if you can do that, there are lots of different ways to make money in 3D printing.
You started building a community. What is the idea behind that, and how is it going?
Yeah, so I started building a community of different people that want to turn their single printer into a business or into a print farm or something similar to what I am doing, because I feel like there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to develop a product or love 3D printing. They want to take it to that next level, but they might not know exactly what the next steps are. And so I developed a community to try and help people understand how to turn your single 3D printer into a business or a side hustle that can make some money for you and can give you an opportunity to expand it over time. And so far we have over 120 members in the group. We have several people that have started and grown their print farm, and we have tons of resources that are available. So it's been a great journey so far. We've helped a lot of people, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the community does as a group, some of the products that we build, some of the resources that we share. And it's really about helping everybody get bigger and get better, because the market for 3D printed products is absolutely massive, and it continues to expand. Like I said, as the technology gets better, the applications for 3D printing expand, and the marketplace gets even bigger and bigger. And so I don't think there's a lot of competition. I don't think it's saturated. I think there is a ton of room in the 3D printing space. And my goal with building a community was to try and help everybody take that next step and grow their business.
So what does open source mean to you?
What does open source mean to me? Well, again, I'm not a super technical guy, but for me, and one of the main reasons that I liked Prusa so much is that I can understand it, I can access it, I can control the software, I can control the printers, I can make changes and I can modify them. And for me, where my 3D print farm is set up in a very specific way, and I want to adjust the printers to make them more efficient to my operations, and I want to make a couple of small changes and be able to control them, Prusa allows me to do that through their open source model. And so for me, open source is kind of like saying, here's a tool and you can use it exactly how you want, and you can adjust it and you can play with it and you can change it and you can modify or improve it. And so for me and my operations, that is absolutely crucial, and it helps me increase my output, increase the products leaving the farm, and increase the profit overall. So for me, open source is a huge, massive benefit for my business.
And what are your plans for the future?
What are my plans for the future? So right now I'm at about 70 3D printers. I've got room for about 18 more printers in my current facility. And then in about 3 to 6 months, the goal is to get a larger facility with a warehouse and a lot of storage for all of the filament and the pallets and the products going out. I'm also working on a software that is helping me to control and manage my 3D print farm and manage the printers, manage the filament, and manage the actual jobs that are going through the print farm. And so my plan for the next couple months is to expand the print farm, but also focus on making my printers as effective and efficient and high output as possible. And so with those two angles, that's how I plan to grow my business over the next couple months.
So let's talk about the print farm. How much space does it take? And what kind of conditions are there? How do you control the environment?
Yeah, so the print farm has, I think, 71 or 72 printers on it right now. Almost all of them are MK4 or MK4S printers with one Core 1 that I bought recently to kind of experiment with and play with. The print farm is pretty simple. All of the printers are on standard kind of cargo racks. There's 9 printers per rack, and they're all lined up in my basement. It's about 1,100 square feet, and then I have fans and air conditioning that blow cold air in, and I have exhaust fans that try and take the hot air out. I also have a couple of quality sensors and air filters throughout the facility. But it's a pretty simple operation. The parts come right off the printers. They go into a box, and then they get packaged and assembled from that box, and then they get shipped out the door. And what's really nice is I sell most of the products on Amazon, so I never actually hold inventory of the products. And so my operation is very simply just a massive wall of about 70 printers, a couple of packing tables, and then we ship everything out.
And what was the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I've got a lot of changes that I would like to make. One of the big challenges that I have is temperature inside of the room. The printers produce a little bit of heat, especially when you have 70 of them. So being able to control the temperature to a state that a human likes working in and enjoys working in and isn't going to get cold or start sweating, that's one of the biggest challenges. So I would really focus on that. And then secondly, I would say my other biggest challenge right now that I would do significantly differently is I need a lot more space for storage of filament. I'm buying filament by the pallets now, and carrying those boxes up and down the stairs isn't a very enjoyable task. So I'm working pretty hard on trying to plan that out. But the big thing is the movement of materials through the farm. So where does filament come in? Where do your supplies go in? How does it get onto the printer? And then how do you get those parts off the printer, packaged up, and then shipped out the door in the most efficient way possible with the least amount of wasted space, time, effort, and resources? That is what I really want to focus on. And so ideally, I want filament coming in by the pallet, being placed right next to the printers. Somebody can pick it up, put it onto the printer, they can pull the products off, put it right onto a packing table, do the final assembly, and then have it shipped out. So in my next facility, the goal is to make that process as seamless as possible.
How many farmers do you have at the moment?
Yeah, when it comes to the farm, so I have 2 employees right now. One of them works through the day, and then the other one works in the evenings. And most of the time throughout the week, they're the ones that are actually kind of running the farm and controlling the printers. But I am definitely the one that is controlling the printers and running the farm on the weekends or when either of them are off. And I'm the one that's mainly working on the sales and the product development and the pipeline and the improvement projects at the farm. And so the actual printing itself, I have a lot of amazing help from 2 great employees that really do a great job of running the actual farm and the day-to-day operations. And it allows me to step back so that my only goal is to focus on growing the business. And so I focus on sales, I focus on product development, I focus on partnerships, and I focus on trying to get the best materials possible and reducing my costs so that we can increase the profit and grow the business faster.
Did you start with 1, 2, or 3 printers? And how did the growth go?
So I have an Excel sheet actually where I track every date that I purchase a new printer. And so I think it was the first printer I realized, okay, this product is selling, but I'm running out of capacity. And so I think I bought my second and third printer pretty quickly. And from there, everything was a reinvestment of the profits. And I think it slowly grew to about 50 or 60 printers very, very quickly. And then the last 20 printers have slowed down a little bit because now I'm at the size where I am getting a bigger improvement in the farm from making the existing printers more efficient than I am from just adding a couple more printers. And so now my focus is really split between adding printers and making the current printers more efficient. Whereas back in the day, especially when I was getting started, the best way to scale and the best way to grow is just buy another printer because it would increase capacity by 100% or 50%. Now when I buy a printer, it only increases capacity by 1 or 2%. And so reslicing the files or making them more efficient or putting them on a software to run for more hours per day has a much larger impact than buying just 1 or 2 more printers. And so right now it's a balance between making the farm and the existing operations more efficient and buying more printers to scale up over time. I do have some limitations on space and airflow though, so I have to take that into account as well.
It sounds like everything comes down to numbers. Do you track numbers for everything?
Yeah, I've got it tracked. Well, what's amazing about 3D printing and what I absolutely love about this business is that It is purely numbers. You can tell exactly how much filament is going to go into a product. You know exactly how long it's going to take. You can calculate exactly how much it's going to cost you, and everything can be determined with a number. Regular manufacturing and regular operations in my old business, where you had a human that was basically crafting a final product, there was a lot of variability in there. And so from a business standpoint, 3D printing is amazing because I can basically map out the entire business into an Excel sheet and know exactly where I'm going to be 3, 6, 9 months from now. I know what my filament position is going to be. I know what my cash position is going to be. I know what sales are going to look like, and I can really forecast the business. And it allows me to take larger risks, to buy new equipment, to order filament in bulk, things like that, because I can actually plan out and I can forecast and I can put a number to almost everything in the business. And it's actually the best thing ever. I absolutely love it about 3D printing because there's less variation and there's less variables that you have to deal with. And so as an entrepreneur, it's very, very attractive because you can buy one printer, you can make $2 per hour, you can run it for 20 hours a day, you make $40 a day, you do that for 10, 20, 30 days, and now you can buy a new printer. It's very, very simple, and the math behind it, it's very, very fun when you start to pile up more and more printers and you can see the scale and you can start to see what 12 months out looks like. It's something that I really love about the business.
What was the biggest risk you took in the 3D printing business?
So I would say that when it comes to the risks in 3D business, that is another one of those things that's really amazing about it, because my business has grown now. We do pretty significant revenue. We have over 70 printers, and there's been very little risk to the business. The risk is mostly on the personal side, and luckily I didn't need to withdraw a lot of money from the business in the early days, and so I was able to reinvest all of that money. We didn't take on any debt, we didn't take on any loans, I have no other investors. It's basically been something that I've just grown myself responsibly and profitably, and I've put that money back into the business, and doing it that way has really, really reduced the risk behind the business. And so when it comes to the risks in 3D printing, you've got your time and maybe the money that you paid for the printer, but other than that, there shouldn't be a ton of risk associated with the business. My largest risks nowadays are buying a big batch of filament and maybe it ships in late or it doesn't come in the right quantity or the right quality. But there's nothing that's super inherently risky about the business, especially if you start with one printer, you find your product market fit, and you scale that up responsibly. I would say the risk comes in if you take on a debt or you take on loan or you take on an investor and you go out and you buy 20 3D printers, but you don't have the sales to keep those printers running. That's when you're going to run into the risk in 3D printing. But if you can do it responsibly and you can find your product market fit and can make sure that you're solving somebody's actual problem, it should significantly reduce the risk in your business. And again, it's one of the great things about 3D printing. You can put a number behind everything, you can forecast it, you should be able to foresee everything that's going to happen, and there's nothing that's going to be a $10,000 bill that's going to mess you up. If a motor goes down or a nozzle wears out or a pulley breaks, it's $10, $20, $30 to repair it, and then you're back up and running. And so there aren't a whole lot of risks with the 3D printing business if you do it responsibly, sustainably, and at a pace that makes sense for your skill level as an entrepreneur.
So how do you integrate new printers into your farm? How does it work?
Yeah, so this is my favorite topic, actually. This one is fun. So when I buy a new 3D printer, I am making a couple of small changes to it for my specific operations. So my farm only prints in one color, and that is black, and we only print in one material, and that is PETG. And I am printing a product that doesn't have a lot of detail. It doesn't have a lot of intricate small parts to it. And so I am printing with a larger nozzle. I print with a 0.8 nozzle. So that is the first change that happens to the 3D printers, is we put a 0.8 nozzle on it. I also print with 5 kilogram rolls instead of 3 or 1 kilogram rolls. So we have to make some adjustments to how the filament actually gets into the printer. And we've developed our own sort of holders and system for that. And then once we have the nozzle changed and once we have the filament set up, the next big thing is getting it onto a software that we run. And that allows us to connect to all of the printers from one central dashboard and allows us to control all of the printers and send jobs to all of those printers. And so when we get the nozzle set up, we get the filament hooked up, and we get that printer connected to the software, It is then fully integrated into the farm, and with a couple clicks of the button, it starts accepting jobs, and it takes about 10 minutes once you get it out of the box. It's super easy, super simple, but those changes allow my print farm to print our products much, much faster than we would be able to if we had just used the stock settings or a 1 kilogram roll or a 0.4 nozzle. And so we make those small changes specifically because the products that we are printing are a little bit bulkier, they're not very intricate, and it allows us to maximize the gross profit that we're generating on each product, as well as maximize the profit that we're generating per print hour.
And how many machines have you tested, and why did you choose Prusa?
So when I started my 3D print farm, the reason that I went with Prusa printers is because when I looked at the marketplace, I wanted something that was reliable and that was going to last a long time. I didn't want to have to be replacing parts all the time. I didn't want to have to buy new printers every 2 years. I wanted something that I can work with for a long time, that's going to be a workhorse, and it's going to do a good job for me. And when I looked at all the different printers out there, I saw that Prusa, with the open source methodology and everything that they have done, they have really, really focused on reliability, and when something does go down, it's very easy to replace. And so that was a huge, huge attraction for me when actually choosing which printer to buy and which printer to use in my farm. I also love that they are made in Europe. They have an amazing story, and they're part of the history of 3D printing. Prusa has actually built this industry up. They kind of started the consumer revolution, and I wanted to be a part of that as well. And so when it comes to choosing the printers for my farm, the number one metric was reliability, the number two metric was repairability, and then the last thing that I absolutely love about the Prusa printers is that I can upgrade them. And so my first 12 or 15 printers were Prusa Mark III S Plus printers, and now they have been upgraded all the way to Mark IV S printers. And so the ability for me to upgrade my printers with a small package or a small price up front, instead of having to completely replace those printers, has also been a monumental advantage for my print farm, because I have printers now that are 3 or 4 years old, but they operate just like brand new because I've been able to upgrade them, maintain them, and repair them over time, thanks to everything Prusa has developed.
And how much maintenance do you have to perform?
So when it comes to maintenance on the 3D print farm, for me, we have sort of 2 levels of maintenance. The first level is a simple routine maintenance. I have 8 different racks of 3D printers, all with 9 printers on each of them, plus a couple on the side. And what we do is once per week, we'll take all of the printers off one rack and we will do a general maintenance. We will clean the printer, we'll check the nozzle, we'll replace the PTFE tube, we'll wipe the whole thing down, we'll wipe and re-grease all of the bearings and all of the rods, and we'll tighten and adjust all of the belts, and then we'll run a full calibration on the machine. And that is basically a weekly routine that we do on 1 out of 8 racks every single week. And so every 2 months, every printer will basically go through that basic routine cycle. The other step of maintenance that we have on it is just kind of a general, maybe every 2 or 3 day maintenance, where we go through, we clean off the nozzles, we brush all the nozzles, we make sure that the silicone socks are clean and they don't have any residue on them. We make sure there's no buildup on either end of the rods, and we make sure that the printer is in clean, working, and operating state, just so that we don't have any issues in between that next major maintenance. And so for us, it's kind of like a every couple day maintenance where we check all the nozzles and do a quick check and a quick clean on all of the printers. And then every 2 weeks, 1 rack. And then every week, 1 full rack of printers will get a detailed, full, and in-depth maintenance where everything will get basically cleaned on it, and it will go through a new calibration to make sure that it's ready for the next 2 months.
So can you tell us what is your print success rate?
It's not tracked very well, and it varies a little bit by product, but I'd say it's probably 95%, 90 to 95, depending on the product.
Is electricity consumption a problem?
So when it comes to electricity on the 3D print farm, it is much lower than most people expect or would think with running 70 3D printers. It's a couple $100s per month. It's a little bit difficult for me to put a hard number on it because there's a lot of service fees, and I also run a Bitcoin miner at the house, so there's a lot of electricity being used. But when I upgraded and I sort of got to that 20 or 30 printer level, I had to redo the electricity that was running to my house, and I had to upgrade it to a 200 amp breaker, and that has allowed me to expand the print farm to as many printers as I could possibly fit in the house. There's not much of a limit on it right now. But with regards to electricity, the cost to actually run these machines and run a print farm is much, much lower than most people expect. I believe my cost is around 1.5 to 2 cents in electricity per hour per printer, and I'm running 70 of them, so you can kind of do the simple math on that. But the overall expectations with regards to electricity for 3D printing, it's much lower than most people think. The one area where if you're running a print farm, you have to be a little bit careful, and I had this issue and I learned this the hard way, is if you plug too many printers into the same circuit, it's very easy to trip a breaker or overload that circuit. However, if you can bring in an electrician and you can run circuits to the different printers, for instance, I have 8 racks of printers and each rack has its own circuit for the electricity. That allows me to run the entire farm. I could start the entire farm up at once and I wouldn't have any issues. And so electricity is more about the setup than the actual cost, because the cost relative to what you're printing is extremely low. However, having the right setup for electricity to run your printers properly is probably the most difficult part and possibly the most expensive.
How do you like the Prusa Core 1 3D printer so far?
So when it comes to the print farm and the Core 1, I can't say that we have integrated it into the operations yet, because I have 70 of the Mark IV S printers and they are working really well and it's working really smoothly. And so we actually use the Core 1 for product photos and really high detail development and testing and fit tests when we need to create a product that perfectly aligns with something. And so we use the Core 1 primarily for prototyping and for photography and for development rather than production. And I do think it would work very well and it would look absolutely amazing if I had 70 of them. But I'm pretty committed to the bed slinger models right now with the Mark IV S, and it's working out really well for me. I also think I'm planning to find a way to automate these printers in the future and eject parts when they're done printing, and the bed slinger setup works a little bit better for that in my setting.
So what is the current state of automation on your farm? Do you have any remote control, monitoring, and so on?
So this is my favorite topic. So when it comes to managing the printers with automation and control, right now I've developed a software and it's available publicly. And what it will do is it will connect to as many printers as you'd like on your print farm, and it will allow you to control them and to send jobs to them. And so for instance, in my farm right now, every Monday we do an inventory report to figure out what we need to print. We then put those orders into our software and it will automatically distribute those orders to all of the printers that are available. The printers will start, they will print the product, we will then go remove that product from all 70 printers. We will then click one button to reset all of the printers to the ready state, and the software will then redistribute those jobs out to all of the printers again until it has completed all of the jobs that are in the queue. And so right now, it makes my operations extremely efficient, and it allows me to very easily and quickly train employees, because all they need to do is remove the parts, reset the printer, and then keep on going. All they can do. And then after that, they just package the products and ship it out. And so it allows me to run a very efficient farm. What we are working on now is an addition where when the print actually finishes, the software will send a custom G-code to the printer. That G-code will then push the part off the printer and into a bin, and then automatically reset the printer back to the ready state so that the software can distribute the next job. That is going to allow me to basically automate all 70 of the printers so that they print the product, push the part off, and then restart the next print. So that is the future of the software. That's where we're trying to get to over the next few months. But as of right now, we have set up the system for the order queuing so that it automatically distributes, and it allows my employees to become way more efficient, and it dramatically increases the amount of hours that I can print.
What is the story behind your software? Did you make it yourself?
Yeah, so the story behind the software is kind of unique. So I developed it myself. I have no experience in coding. I have no experience in software, but some of the tools that have come out recently that can use AI to code for you and to create tools for you has been really amazing. And so I've developed the software completely from scratch. I haven't written any of the code myself, but I've used AI tools like Claude and ChatGPT and Grok to basically put the code together and build this software for me. Now, the story of how it started is quite interesting, actually. So I've been talking a little bit about how I want to not only get more printers, but also make my print farm more efficient. And in trying to make my print farm more efficient, the whole goal there is to get more print hours per day. Now, to do that, I tried to hire another company that had a software that I could connect my printers to and that could automate some of the features that I just described. Unfortunately, that company was unable to deliver on what they had promised and what the contract outlined, and therefore I was left with a big problem. I had spent a lot of money, I had nothing to show for it, and I had a software that didn't work. And so instead of trying to outsource it again or find somebody else, I said it's time to do it myself. And so I spent a couple of hours learning how to use these tools, learning what I needed to do, and over the next 2 weeks, I was able to build the software completely from scratch and improve my operations dramatically.
And can you imagine doing it without AI?
It would never happen without the AI. It's been quite a learning experience and a journey. And the beautiful part of it is that because Prusa is open source, it has allowed me to see the API. It allows me to see how the printers are controlled, and allows me to actually build a software that can then communicate with the printers, can control the printers, and I can use that to dramatically increase the production and the output of the print farm. And so Prusa's open source mentality, coupled with the recent technology advancements in AI, has allowed somebody like me with no technical experience, no background in software development, to create an entire software from scratch that can have a major impact on my operations. And now we are starting to release it to other print farms around the world as well. And it has already had major impacts on a couple of our early customers. So I'm super excited about it. I'm super proud of it. And for somebody that is running multiple printers, it is a huge advantage to be able to control multiple printers from one central location or dashboard. It will save you time, it'll save you energy, it'll save you materials, it'll save everything. And on top of that, there's a level here where when you run the printers individually, you don't see any data. You can't see what your total print hours was. You can't see how much filament you used. You can't see how efficient your farm is running. But when you connect all of those printers to a software that can control and track all of that data, all of a sudden, you not only have the ability to control your print farm, but you have the ability to pull data out of your print farm. I can see exactly what my filament consumption is per day. I can see how many hours we're running. I can see which printer is running the most or the least, and I can see how efficient everything is operating. And so not only does it give you an immediate boost, but it also gives you the data that you can then analyze afterwards to improve your process even better.
No more walking around changing USB sticks, right?
Yeah, oh, the USB stick thing. The USB sticks are great when you have one printer or two printers, maybe even three printers, but as soon as you have 70 3D printers and let's say 100 files that you need to put onto each USB, and it takes a few minutes to transfer, it becomes a massive headache. So for me to add one new product, I have to upload it to 70 USB sticks, and it's a bit of a headache. And so the software allows me to upload a G-code and distribute it to the entire print farm and start 70 printers in less than 30 seconds and just a couple of mouse clicks. And so it makes a huge difference with regards to labor and just employee morale, because they don't have to change 70 USB sticks every time they want to update a file. And it also just makes the farm much more efficient.
And any future plans, thoughts, or ambitions for the software?
So the future plans and the ambitions for the software, right now we're trying to build out the automatic ejection, where we're going to send an ejection G-code to each printer after the print is finished. That's going to remove the part from the bed and allow the printer to restart. That is the main objective right now that we're working on. After that, we're trying to build out an analytics dashboard where the print farmer can see exactly how many hours of uptime and downtime and maintenance they have. They can see what their filament consumption looks like. They can track and manage the maintenance on every single machine, and they can start to pull real useful data out of the software that they can analyze and they can implement changes into their operations to make it more efficient. That's what the roadmap looks like for the next 1 to 2 months. After that, we plan to integrate more different models of printers so that if you have a Prusa printer and you've got a couple different other brands on your farm, you can integrate them all together. You can send a G-code to the software to send them all out to the different printers, and you can actually manage your print farm no matter how it's set up. Right now, the software only works on Prusa printers because that's what my farm runs on, but in the future, we do plan to expand that.
And finally, do you have a message for the 3D printing community?
My message to the 3D printing world is to just keep pushing boundaries. We have created new solutions to a never-ending list of problems, and as the technology gets better and as we develop new solutions and different ways of printing, the applications for the problems that we can solve only continues to expand. And so don't stop pushing, don't stop experimenting, keep getting better, keep improving your skills, buy that next printer and start experimenting. And what you need to search for is traction. You want to find a solution to a problem that people want. Once you have that solution, that is what we call product market fit, where the product actually fixes the problem and the customer likes it and wants to keep buying it. That's what we're looking for as 3D print farmers. That is the golden goose, and that is how you build a business. And so my message to you is keep experimenting, keep trying, keep testing, keep prototyping, and I'm sure you'll find it.